Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like someone owned it without saying a single word, no introduction, no announcement, yet somehow everyone felt their presence? That's not magic. That's mastery. We live in a noisy world. Everyone's trying to prove something, to speak louder, to out-talk, outpost, outperform. But I'm here to tell you this. The most powerful people, the ones who win the room, win the deal, win the moment, do it in silence. Because true power doesn't need to shout. If you want to influence anyone, lead anything, or dominate any situation without saying a single word, you're in the right place. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to share will change the way you carry yourself forever. This isn't theory. This is life strategy. Let me tell you something that most people never hear in their lifetime. You don't win the room when you open your mouth. You win it long before that moment ever comes. You win it the moment you decide who you're going to be, not what you're going to say. Because in every room, every negotiation, every high-stakes situation, there's one currency more powerful than words, more influential than strategy, and more magnetic than charm, and that is your energy. We've been trained to prepare for what we'll say, how we'll pitch, how we'll respond. But we rarely prepare who we're going to be when we walk in. Your energy, your internal state, is the first conversation people have with you, even if no words are spoken. And here's the truth. Most people try to get energy from the environment. They walk into a room hoping someone else will make them feel comfortable, confident, or strong. But the ones who truly win, they bring the energy. They walk in with a certainty so strong, the room recalibrates around them. They lead the emotional tone, not follow it. You've seen this before. A person walks in, and without a single word, heads turn. They're not trying too hard. They're not performing. They're simply aligned. Their energy is congruent. And what does that create? Presence. And presence is power. Now, energy isn't just hype. It's not fake enthusiasm. It's not forcing yourself to smile and pretending to be upbeat when you're drained inside. Real energy is cultivated. It's intentional. It's created through mastery of your own state, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So how do you do that? You prime it. Before any major moment, whether it's a meeting, an interview, a date, or a confrontation, you get into your body. You don't wait for confidence to arrive. You move like someone who already has it. Stand tall, move with purpose, breathe deeper, shoulders back. That's not just posture. That's a signal to your nervous system. I'm safe. I'm strong. I've got this. Then you align your mind. You don't walk into situations focused on fear or outcome. You focus on intention. Ask yourself, who do I want to be in that room? Not, what if I mess up? Not, what do they think of me? Instead, how do I want them to feel when I show up? Because the energy you own is the energy you project. If you walk in grounded, people feel safe. If you walk in certain, people lean in. If you walk in with love, with the intent to serve rather than impress, people connect instantly. And here's the kicker. People might forget your words, but they never forget how you made them feel. That's why energy is so important. It's not fluff. It's not woo-woo. It's your first impression, your silent language, your invisible edge. This is why people can say all the right things and still lose, because their words and energy don't match. You can't fake alignment. You either are or you aren't. And when you are, when your energy is calm, certain, and grounded in purpose, people trust you even if they don't know why. Now, some people say, but I don't always feel powerful. I can't control how I feel. And I get it. But I'll tell you this, you don't need to feel powerful to be powerful. You just need to take control of your state. Emotions follow motion. Identity follows decision. Stop waiting for confidence. Decide to own the room. Decide to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Thermostats set the temperature. Thermometers just react. You don't win the moment by reacting to it. You win it by showing up as the version of you that's already decided who you are before you ever speak a word. That's how you start winning. Silently, people are watching you before you even realize it. Before the first handshake, before the first word leaves your mouth, they're already making decisions about who you are, whether they trust you, whether you're a leader or just another voice in the crowd. And here's the crazy part. It's not your words that convince them. It's your body, your posture, your presence, your stillness, your movement. Because body language is the most honest language you'll ever speak. And in most situations, it's the loudest thing in the uncommon room. Even in silence. You see, your body is a message. It's constantly communicating to the world exactly how you feel about yourself, what you believe, and whether or not you're in control. It doesn't matter how polished your words are if your body tells a different story. You can't hide it, you can't fake it, but you can command it, you can train it. And when you do, you become unstoppable. Let me be real with you. People can smell uncertainty. They pick up on insecurity even when it's buried beneath a smile. But when you stand tall, when your shoulders are back, when your eyes are steady and focused, you're saying without words, I belong here. I'm not seeking validation. I am the validation. So many people try to dominate a room with volume. They speak louder, faster, trying to win attention with noise. But real power is quiet. It doesn't beg for permission. It doesn't chase approval. It simply is. True power walks in, stands still, and holds its space without flinching. I've seen people in negotiations, high-level meetings, even in personal relationships, and they lose their edge the moment they start moving nervously, shifting, fidgeting, looking around too much. All of that signals doubt, signals that you're not fully certain. But when you stand in silence and hold eye contact, when you're relaxed but intentional, you create what I call a gravitational pull. People can't help but pay attention to you, and not because you asked them to, because you didn't need to. That's where the magic is, in the restraint, in the control, in the way you choose to move or not move. A powerful person doesn't react to every little thing. They don't get pulled into every emotion in the room. They remain centered. They anchor the energy around them. That kind of presence creates influence that words alone never could. You want to win a situation without saying a word? Learn how to enter a room and own your physical space, not in an arrogant way, not by puffing your chest up and trying to impress people. That's ego, and ego is noisy. Presence, real presence, is quiet. It's clean, it's calm, it's intentional, and it comes from having absolute congruence between who you are internally and what your body is projecting externally. Start with the basics. Chin up, not out of pride, but because you refuse to look down on yourself. Shoulders back, because you're not here to hide. Eye contact, not to intimidate, but to connect. Breathe deep, because you're grounded, you're clear, and you're not here to rush anything. Every part of your body should speak one message. I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm enough. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about pretending to be something you're not. This is about aligning your body with who you really are. It's about removing the noise, the doubt, the posturing, and letting the truth of your confidence speak through your presence. And when you do this right, you don't need to interrupt, you don't need to chase attention, and you certainly don't need to force your way into a moment. People feel your certainty before they hear it. They trust your leadership before you even explain yourself. Why? Because your body said it all. The world responds not to the noise you make, but to the presence you carry. And your presence, when owned fully, speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Now, let me ask you, how often do you truly pay attention to what's going on around you? I mean, really pay attention. Not just what's being said, but what's unsaid. What's happening in the room beyond the obvious, the subtle movements, the unspoken signals, the energy in the air that no one is acknowledging but everyone can feel. If you're not noticing these things, you're missing the game. Because the people who win in any situation, who hold the power in any room, they're not just reacting to what's in front of them. They're reading the room. They're seeing things that others can't see, feeling things others can't feel, and using that insight to steer the direction of the entire conversation, negotiation, or moment. This is where true influence lies. The art of reading the room isn't some mystical, unteachable skill. It's about being present. It's about being attuned to the emotional undercurrents around you. And the only way to do that is to step out of your own head for a moment and fully observe what's happening with others. What are their body language cues telling you? How does the tone in the room shift when a certain person speaks? Who's sitting back and who's leaning in? Who's guarded and who's open? These are the signs that most people miss, but they're the keys to understanding the true dynamics of any situation. Let's break this down. When you walk into a room, there are two types of people. The first type is reactive. They're just responding to what's happening around them, often getting caught up in the noise, distracted by everything that's being said, swept away by the latest comment or sudden shift in the conversation. And then there's the second type, the strategic observer. These people are watching, listening, and understanding every nuance of what's happening. They're studying the subtle dynamics in the room, noticing where the power lies, understanding the motivations of others, and using that knowledge to stay in control. You see, when you read the room correctly, you no longer need to force your presence. You don't need to push to be heard, to argue your point louder, or to insert yourself into every conversation. Instead, you let the room reveal its secrets to you. You begin to notice who's uncomfortable, who's confident, who's leading the conversation, and who's just trying to fit in. When you know this, you can guide the energy in the room. You can step forward at the right moment. You can adjust your approach based on the vibe, and it gives you the power to move things in your favor without uttering a single word. This is where emotional intelligence becomes your most powerful tool. Being able to sense the emotional temperature of a room allows you to act with precision. You can adjust your words to match the energy. You can choose when to lead the conversation and when to step back and listen. You can tell when to push for something and when to give space. And the beauty is, once you've learned how to do this, you begin to notice that people start responding to you rather than you constantly having to react to them. And here's the thing, this skill isn't something you can read in a book or memorize. It's about practicing the art of observation. It's about stepping outside of your own thoughts, stopping yourself from getting lost in your own passions or agendas, and simply tuning into the world around you. It's not about what you want to hear, but about noticing what is happening. The more you pay attention, the more you start to see the subtle shifts in people's behavior, the pauses, the micro expressions, the shifts in tone. All of this tells you everything you need to know about what's going on below the surface. The key is to embrace the power of listening with your eyes. When you do, you no longer have to guess what others are thinking. You know. You're tapped into the unspoken language that everyone else is missing. And that gives you a massive advantage. You understand the hidden dynamics of a room, and you use that understanding to position yourself as a natural leader. Now, don't get me wrong, you still need to listen to what's being said, but in most situations, it's what's not being said that will give you the real power. And when you combine your ability to read the room with your inner strength, your presence, and your energy, you become a force that's impossible to ignore. Because when you can see the full picture, you can act with purpose. You can navigate the complexities of any situation with a calm, focused clarity that others can't touch. And that's how you begin to win. Silently, strategically, and with precision, when you read the room, you don't just participate in the conversation, you shape it. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal, and it's one that most people overlook or undervalue. It's the power of silence. That's right, silence. And before you start thinking, wait, isn't silence just empty? Let me tell you this. Silence is anything but empty. It's a weapon. It's a strategy. It's one of the most potent ways to win any situation without saying a single word. Here's the truth most people don't realize. When you're quiet, you're not losing ground. You're gaining it. Because silence creates space. It allows the other person to speak, to reveal their true thoughts, their intentions, and their emotions. Most people are so desperate to fill the void, they rush in with their words. But here's the secret. You don't have to say anything. The silence is where everything shifts. It's where power is created. Think about the last time you were in a high-stakes conversation. Maybe it was a negotiation or perhaps an intense discussion where you knew the outcome was important. Now, how many times did you feel the urge to speak, to jump in, to fill the space with your own words? How many times did you think, I need to respond quickly to stay in control? Here's the thing, when you rush in, you're actually giving away your power. You're reacting. You're letting the other person dictate the pace, the rhythm, and the flow of the conversation. But when you choose to remain silent, even when it feels uncomfortable, you pause, you allow the other person to fill the gap, and that's when you learn the most. It's in the pause that people reveal their true thoughts, their insecurities, their motives. They might start talking to fill the space, and in doing so, they'll often reveal more than they intended. It's the silence that forces people to expose themselves without even realizing it. Silence also forces people to think. When you don't immediately react, they start questioning themselves. They begin to wonder, why isn't he or she saying anything? What's going on in their head? Are they planning something? Are they waiting for me to say more? That's when the real power dynamic shifts in your favor. You've created tension, and now you control it. You see, the most confident and powerful people are never in a rush to speak. They don't feel the need to fill every silence, every awkward pause. Instead, they lean into the moment. They stay calm. They know that the power of silence gives them the space to decide how and when to move forward with purpose and precision. And here's the kicker. Silence is a reflection of your internal state. When you are truly grounded, truly confident, you can sit with silence comfortably. You're not afraid of what's not being said. You're not desperate to hear someone else's validation. You can wait, you can listen, you can hold space, knowing that in that silence you have complete control. Now, I know this may feel counterintuitive. We've been conditioned to think that speaking up, having the perfect response, or outsmarting the other person is what makes us powerful. But the truth is, the more you speak, the more room you give for distraction. The more you talk, the less you're listening. And the less you listen, the more you miss. So next time you find yourself in a conversation or a high-pressure situation, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it be. Lean into it. And in that pause, you will not only gain clarity, but you'll also force the other person to reveal their hand. You'll create a dynamic where you control the pace, where you control the energy of the conversation, and where you hold the power. The silence is your ally. It's the calm before the storm. It's the space that allows you to reflect, to decide, to create your next move with intent and without haste. People who are uncomfortable with silence often feel the need to fill it with unnecessary noise. But the truth is, the more comfortable you get with silence, the more powerful you become. You don't have to say a word to win the situation. You just have to remain centered, grounded, and present. So remember, next time you're in a high-stakes moment, next time you're in the middle of a negotiation or a conversation where you want to control the outcome, don't be afraid to let the silence work for you. Use it, embrace it, and let the power of quiet confidence move you closer to your goal. In silence, you find your strength.